Hello, Zeb Aurelios from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Inside the Force. Carabas. Gotta go, Hera's here.
It is a period of Star Wars mania, as new movies, comic books, novels, and TV shows populate the system. Fueled by their love and passion for the galaxy far, far away, two exceptional geeks tap into hundreds of holocrons in order to bring you the knowledge and insight of all things Star Wars. Come and join them as they go inside the Force.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham, and back with me, Casey Cooley.
Hello, everybody.
What's happening, Case?
Not much, man. Busy time of year. Still is.
Yes, and we've got a new movie coming out soon.
I know. Oh, so soon.
Yes, very, very soon. Still haven't seen anything about it, but It is coming. So, of course, we will hit up on that just a little bit because, you know what? I'm really not wanting to say anything until we actually see something. Because, of course, there's rumors. We'll get into it, but, of course, there's rumors when we might see something. But so that anyway, that's on the horizon. We definitely want to talk about the brand new mid-season trailer that just landed for Star Wars Rebels, which is coming to an end very soon. Yes.
Jeez.
And then I want to talk a little bit more again about some Last Jedi because I went and did another viewing of it, but this time I went with my 8-year-old daughter, which was very interesting. So I will talk about that and kind of hit on my feelings more about that movie because, like we said, we were going to keep talking about that for a little while because it's still a lot to process. Mm-hmm. So, all right. What you got, Case?
Well, Han Solo is rapidly approaching. Yeah,
124 days to be exact.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I wish I could honestly say something new has happened, but no, it's very quiet. There is some, obviously there's rumors and talk of a trailer coming very soon. I believe, let me actually pull this up because I have it right here. Anthony Breznican, the guy who always writes the Entertainment Weekly articles of all the Star Wars movies that come out now. He kind of hyped up the Rebels trailer earlier today, like kind of teasing it. And people thought he was referencing like a Han Solo trailer. He's like, no, not that. But his tweet was, no, but you won't have to wait much longer for that, I promise. So sounds like he knows for sure that it's he definitely knows when it's coming, and he's kind of telling everybody that it's happening very, very soon. And Ron Howard's also tweeted himself saying that it's going to come out very soon as well. So,
right,
it's still a relative term, but I feel like we'll get it by the end of the month at some point. So before February, so we got like another week and a half almost left in the month. So hopefully we'll be getting that trailer very soon.
Yeah, Cody, who was on the show with me last week, he said he heard a rumor that it may come out this Sunday during the NFL playoffs. But after thinking about that, I'm like, well, usually it's got to be affiliated with Disney, and none of the games this weekend are on ABC or ESPN. So, and I'll double check that, but I think the games are on the normal CBS and Fox channels. So that doesn't quite make sense. CBS and Fox. So I don't really buy that. I would buy that it was on like a Monday Night Football or something like that, or because that's Disney, or if it was on, or if there was another type of big sporting event, or a Good Morning America or something like that. So,
right.
So I don't buy that. I mean, honestly, they could just release it, I guess, on the same day, thinking that people might want to get online or something like that, and I don't know, but I don't see, or they might have maybe buy a commercial spot during those games, maybe. But again, I don't buy that. So, yeah, I think we might just be blindsided one day with it, just like we're kind of going to be blindsided with everything that comes out from now on. A poster, a trailer, whatever. It's like, oh, by the way, here it is, and come May 25th and watch the movie.
Well, you told me the other day that they've got the movie on Star Wars' database.
Oh, yeah,
right?
actually. Well, not the
or something. They're
it's under their films now.
Gotcha.
So if you click on films under StarWars.com, then there it is, Solo, Star Wars Story.
There it is.
So it's under these film selectors. So if you go to the film selector up there and click on it, it takes it to its own page. All that's there is Howard's Howard stuff.
And the official synopsis, which is very, very vague.
Yeah,
was that after last week's episode? I can't remember.
Yeah, that came out. I think it came out
the other day,
Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, something like that. Early this week.
Yeah, you guys can go read it. It's I don't even know if it's worth reading, just because it's.
Well, I'll read it.
It just doesn't say much of it.
Everybody, I'm sure, has read it, but more the Millennium Falcon and Journey to a Galaxy Far, Far Away, and Solo, a Star Wars story. An all-new adventure with the most beloved scoundrel in the galaxy. Through the series of daring escapades deep within a dark and dangerous criminal underworld, Han Solo meets his mighty future co-pilot Chewbacca and encounters the notorious gambler Lando Calrissian in a journey that will set the course for one of the Star Wars saga's most unlikely heroes. Solo, a Star Wars story, releases in U.S. theaters on May 25th, 2018.
Yeah.
So I remember
I could have written that.
I could have written that too, but I remember when this first came out, because I was a little skeptical, because I don't think I saw it on Star Wars Twitter. I think I saw it on someone else's Twitter, right?
Right.
And the verbiage though at the end was Solo, a Star Wars story, is slated to be is slated for release in theaters on May 25th. So it said is slated, thinking that sometimes when I say that, there's a possibility that it's not going to be slated then. That it's going to be slated for something else. So it's like it didn't really say release. I remember it said it was like is slated for U.S. theaters on May. I don't know, something like that. It didn't say release. That's why I was like, wow, could they really actually change that possibly? But I don't know, because again, we had rumors that I think me and Cody talked about this. There are rumors that they're doing reshoots this month.
Interesting.
For it. So, it's like, because they're like, oh, what are you're reshooting the reshoots? What's so
like getting another director.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, they're still working on it. Sounds like pretty heavily. And that's why that's probably why we haven't seen a trailer either. They just don't have the shots yet, or the right shots, or they didn't want to maybe do what they did with Rogue One. It was put out a trailer that doesn't even show what's in the movie.
Right.
So, I don't know. I mean, I'm curious. I think that we will get a trailer very soon, but obviously they're going to highly push it out on in February, I guess, on Black Panther, which is coming out in February. So that's probably when you'll see it on the screen. But again, yeah, we don't. I don't want to start speculating or talking about it until we actually see something. So. Anyway, but of course that will start filling out on the website there. Okay, so all right, so let's talk about the big thing here, which is Star Wars Rebels. So the mid-season 4 trailer just dropped today. Very interesting. Very interesting. Just a lot to take from it. I mean, it wasn't as. I felt like it wasn't as fully action packed and jaw dropping as others. I mean, it was definitely. There was definitely a couple moments, but I don't know. What did you take from? What did you take from seeing this?
I love when it first started off. I thought it started slow, and it used a lot of old footage, which I get why. I mean, this trailer really cements the fact that this whole show is really about Ezra. I mean, he's the main character.
Yep.
So it really had to focus on that, which was nice. Then started getting to new footage, and I'm thinking, I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong or not, if it's been confirmed, but it seems like that it's going to pick up sometime after, like a month or so, maybe a few months after this last episode. And I'm mainly basing that off the look of Kanan.
Right.
Like, he just looks, his hair, looks different, looks very different. So I don't know. I mean, probably reading too much into it, but I was interested in that, thinking like this, when we come back, quite a few months have passed, from the previous episode. So I was curious about that storytelling, but no, it was great. It's cool stuff. Saw Sabine with a lightsaber, which was nice, and of course the Emperor at the end was incredible. But and you saw Rex with that same outfit that one character from Return of the Jedi, who looks a lot like Rex, wears on Endor. So
I think it's him. It's going to be him.
I know, and it's like, some people out there were saying that it's definitely him, and they were actually talking about Celebration, where the panel that we were at, where Filoni showed that artwork and basically was like doing his Dave Filoni way of saying like it's true, but it's not true officially, but it could be true, kind of thing. Some people on Twitter were taking that as if it was actually canon, like he actually is this guy. So it's not official. It's not, but it pretty much is without actually saying it is. So it's pretty cool. But it was a great trailer. It was good.
I think if you think about it, I think they wanted. I mean, it just makes sense to not reveal that fully, because then you know the fate of Rex.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so if you don't say it, then it's possible that he, something happens to him during the season. But it's him.
It's come on. Hey, kid. But overall, no, it was a good trailer. I mean, maybe, I don't know if I hate to say that it was a little underwhelming, but
yes, I agree.
It kind of was. It's still pretty cool though. It's just, I mean, I guess mainly maybe this is the Emperor stuff at the end, and just curious to know if we're going back to Dark Side Ezra, or if this is something bigger than that. So,
yeah, I think. I mean, I just think I know the stories about Ezra, but I kind of feel like it was very just Ezra. I think it wasn't really anything about where the other characters are kind of going, and maybe there isn't a conclusion to most of these characters, except Ezra, because we do know Hera survives and makes it all the way through the Battle of Endor. We don't know what happens to Sabine. We don't know what happens to Zeb. We obviously know the Ghost is in Rogue One, and of course, again, all the way through Jedi. But we don't know where Zeb is. Where Kanan, what happens to Kanan, which ultimately I think we kind of all know what has to happen, but we don't know if it will happen. And of course, Ezra. Ezra was the beginning. I think he was the first shot in the whole Rebels series. Standing there all Lothal while the Star Destroyer was approaching. So I think there is going to be a major conclusion with him, but I think the biggest surprise I had was I'm not surprised they brought the Emperor in, and obviously because we got a tease of his voice in the very first episode, which I think in that was it Sam Witwer in that?
Yeah, I believe it was,
because this is actually Ian McDermott,
right? And we were all kind of thinking it because we heard reports that Ian McDermott had done some kind of work. He was seen,
correct, which people thought it was for the Last Jedi,
right? Yeah. So then it was like, oh, maybe he was doing some voice work. Maybe it was for Battlefront 2, or maybe it was for Rebels. So it's, but that's cool.
Yeah, I guess that was him for Battlefront 2. Maybe I guess I don't know.
No, that was Sam Witwer.
That was Sam. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay. So that was cool. I mean, I think we only saw him in a hologram, so I don't think we will see him in person.
In the Rebels trailer?
Yes.
I think you see. I think there's a shot in there where he's. I can't. It's hard to tell because it looks blue.
It's very bluish.
It's either a very solid hologram, kind of like like how Snoke was in Force Awakens. Like he looked very solid as a hologram.
Yeah.
That is. I have to watch it again because I feel like they're.
I felt like it was a hologram, but I don't know.
Well, at the end, the one shot.
Yeah, the one shot is definitely, but I mean the close up,
the wide shot.
Yeah.
Let me try to pull that up real quick.
But yeah, then the Kanan Hera thing, it's like, I mean, I just got to think that all the things in Star Wars Destiny where we've seen Hera, and then of course Star Wars, I think is Star Wars Force of Destiny has a comic now.
Yeah.
With extra stories. The Hera one actually just came out this week. I haven't seen it yet or read it yet, but I'm curious to see when that takes place.
Mm-hmm.
But in the stories that we've seen and heard of her, there just isn't any Kanan anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So something unfortunate probably has to happen, but I guess we'll see what happens there.
And real quick, if you go and if you guys get watching that trailer, if you cue it up to about 1:53, you'll see a shot of the Emperor, which looks like he's controlling some kind of like fiery thing and shooting it towards Ezra, but it looks kind of like he's in person, but it's not for sure.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell for sure. But that would be. I mean, I just can't imagine how he would be there in person.
Me neither.
Like how without Vader being around somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah. So the biggest surprise, a couple of those things like what Kanan did, and then the Emperor, more or less to me, kind of hitting on the fan service side of things to get you hooked. But the biggest surprise for me, and I didn't catch this until the second time I watched it, but the whole Mortis mythology is shown.
Yes. Finally coming back.
Finally going back, which I definitely am going to go back and watch those episodes before this comes back. In fact, I'm actually been starting to watch Clone Wars from the beginning again. I don't know, a complete side note, but has Kim at work, has she talked to you about this? About Clone Wars? Well, she's starting to watch Clone Wars now.
Oh, cool.
She's kind of... It was funny because I walked into work today and she goes... And actually, I think she had Rogue One playing on the screen. And she's like, man, Dave, I got to tell you, I am like hooked on all these new stories and stuff like that. She's like, I'm watching all the Rebels, and then I'm actually finding myself just Wikipediaing all the comics and books out there because she's just reading up. She's just reading the Wikipedia's summaries of them. But she's in the middle of season 2 of Clone Wars, and she's like, this is awesome. I'm so hooked. And I was like, geez, just wait till you get to season 4 and season 5.
Yeah.
But it was a great series, and this whole Mortis thing kind of was very surprising that they went down that road in Clone Wars. So I'm so curious to figure out what they're doing here. So all the shot is there's just a shot of Ezra dressed in like the the stormtrooper outfit or whatever, and he's looking at this wall that lights up, and there it is. Just there's the father, the son, and the daughter.
Looks like they're standing in front of the Lothal Jedi Temple.
Oh, really?
One that has like that dome.
Oh, Yeah. It looks like
behind
it.
them. So
Yes.
that point. So because I think that's at least I think the first episode when we come back, first or second episode, I think they go back to that temple or that temple's involved somehow. The temple of Lothal. So maybe our characters go there and see this wall somehow.
Yeah, that whole thing was so mind bending.
Yes,
as far as the Force goes, and
I mean we've talked about those episodes a lot on this show about how like we need to know more about this part of the mythology.
Yeah,
and no one's ever talking about it. And I think Filoni has said a couple times that we may unpack it a little bit, but no, it's been 7 years about that, around that 7 or so years, and finally getting more about it.
And it's it's just becoming, with that shot right there, it's becoming just more and more evident that this series is pretty much the conclusional part of the Clone Wars. I mean,
absolutely.
He's gone back and pulled all the things he couldn't finish up. And he's finishing it in the series. So that's I told that to Kim today. I said, once you get done with Clone Wars, you got to go right to Rebels, because Rebels is the continuation of Clone Wars, and because there wasn't a proper wrap up to those stories. With, for example, Ahsoka mainly, and then of course Rex now, and then. You have guys like Hondo that has come over, and then of course now this.
Yeah.
It's just really neat, and I hope we get some of these answers. I'm sure I want to go back and watch those and make sure I have it down on what's going on fully again, and getting that understanding again. So I think it's going to be pretty incredible. I mean, it just seems like Ezra. I mean, I don't want to. God, I just don't want to criticize it so much, but it's like it seems like Ezra in this 3 or 4 year span of getting discovered by Kanan and trained, and now all this. I almost feel like he's discovered more than Luke Skywalker has. Yeah, no, I think that's a fair argument. But we don't know, because we don't know Luke's journey, after Return of the Jedi necessarily. But I mean, I just feel like this kid is just gained so much knowledge and so much experience with the Force and understanding it and flirting with he's seen holocrons and messed with holocrons. I mean,
well, that's the thing though, because this time period, we all thought it was the dark times where nothing happened, but we keep getting proven wrong. And now Ezra, it's very like the whole battle between Sith and Jedi is still very much alive. We had Maul, Vader. We have now the Emperor's coming in this season, and we have the Inquisitors. So all this dark side users are still very much alive, and also the Jedi, because we have now, count them, 2 Jedi that are still up and running around doing the same old stuff. So it's still very much a current issue. Oh, I guess maybe the wider part of the galaxy doesn't know, but in our story it is. So I guess it's easier for Ezra to still have easy access to all this Jedi knowledge. But no, Luke definitely didn't get that at all in the movies. But it sounds like from Last Jedi, because he was referencing Darth Sidious. He was referencing everything from the prequels, essentially, in that one sentence that he talked about Darth Sidious. So at some point, he does learn all of that. It's just,
Obi-Wan could have told him.
That's true.
In 5 minutes.
A lot of conversations. Yeah, it's just, all right, here's the thing. Here's everything that happened.
But if you think about it, though, not just, I get it. I think about it. I get it. After Return of the Jedi, he had the time to go, but just think of from A New Hope through Jedi, right? You're talking 4 years.
Yeah.
At the same time Ezra's got, and he didn't have any of those experiences.
No.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, once Obi-Wan got killed, I mean, we know now that, I mean, I think we know now for sure he didn't appear to him until Empire. Until he walks out of that Wampa ice cave and he's about to die. That Obi-Wan shows up and says he's got to go train with Yoda. I mean, it's 3 years after he blew up the Death Star.
And because he never appeared to him in Heir to the Jedi.
No.
Right?
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm pretty sure that was his first appearance. In front, because you can tell he's like looking at him like, Ben, like,
yeah,
that's you, right? So,
right.
I mean, 3 years. What, Ezra in like a year gets to talk to Yoda? You know, I mean,
yeah.
So, and now we know also in a certain point of view that Yoda didn't even want to train him. So, but you know, and again, yeah, and he's a lot older than Ezra. You know, he's almost practically double his age, I think, right? Because Ezra's like 12, I think, right? 12, 13 14.
Wait, you're talking about Ezra and Luke?
Yeah. Well,
they're about the same age, roughly. A couple of years. No, they're rough. Ezra's born.
Oh, actually, you're right. They are about the same age.
They are the same age.
Yeah, they were born the same. They're born on Empire Day. They both were born on Empire Day, pretty much. You're right. Yeah. So they're the same age. So, well, they were. Ezra's younger at that point of getting trained than Luke. Luke's 19 when he's trained. Ezra, what, 15, 14, something like that.
Right.
So a little younger, but again, that's Kanan deciding that, not Yoda.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good point you bringing up, how Obi-Wan mentions, you know, the dark times, and you know, and the dark times, I guess we did assume that it was just, there was no light, it was all darkness, you know, there was no Jedi, no, you know, Jedis were a myth, they were traitors. So yeah, it's true. And then all of a sudden there's two Jedi, you know, and the rebels know about it. The Empire knows about it. So yeah. Anyway, you know, it's just, again, there's a lot to get to the conclusion of this, and curious to see how they're gonna play that out about the Jedi and all that. So, but a little surprising about the schedule behind Rebels. So the Rebels now there was speculation that it'd be back on the 24th, but it is actually Monday, February 19th. So they switched back to Mondays because it was Saturdays, I think, or something like that. Or wasn't it coming down on Fridays or Saturdays?
I can't remember. I feel like it was. I feel like it was on Thursday at some point.
I know they moved it. Yeah, it was later in the week because last year it was Mondays, but this first half it wasn't, and then now it's back on Mondays. It seems like so. Monday, February 19th at 9 p.m. on Disney XD. It mentions here that there's basically 3 weeks of back-to-back episodes. So there's only 6 episodes left, people. 6 episodes. So February 19th, we're going to get the premiere, which is Jedi Knight. Knight as in Night. Then we're getting Doom, spelled Dume, which is Kanan's real name. Caleb Doom. And then it says that the episodes will then be released at 10 p.m. Eastern on Disney Now app. And then, of course, now Monday, a week later, Monday, February 26th, is the premiere telecast of Wolves in a Door. And then A World Between Worlds. So those are the 2 episodes on the 26th. And then the series finale on Monday, March 5th. Now, it says it's a 90-minute episode, so I'm assuming that it's 30 minutes of one episode, which is A Fool's Hope, and then a 60-minute episode of Family Reunion and Farewell. So I'm assuming those are 2 episodes kind of back together like an hour-long movie. So basically the last episode is Farewell, called Farewell. or it's a combined family reunion, because it's like family reunion dash and farewell. So I think it is, but they're all in quotes. So I'm assuming that might be the hour-long finale. So that will happen at so 8:30 is the first one. Yeah, so 9 o'clock, 9 to 10 is the finale. So now this is a little surprising because in the past, we haven't gotten. I mean, they did this in the first part of the season too. It was like they were doubling episodes every week, which we never got.
Right.
They were half-hour shows every week, so and spread over time. So, because I thought that I thought there was like maybe going to be 8 or 9 episodes left, and they would have 1 week per, and which would lead pretty much close to the release of Solo. You can go through March and April if you strung them out, but they don't want to do that because I'm now assuming that they're wrapping up early to ramp up marketing for Solo.
Yeah,
trying to get this over with, and then be like, "Oh, we got 2 months now to just give you everything Solo." So I don't know. So we'll have a lot to talk about, I'm assuming, with these episodes being the finale and final season, and of course, much to speculate after this of where the next series is going to go and do. But I don't know. This was a good series. This was really, really good.
Absolutely.
So if you haven't seen it, obviously go check out the trailer. Okay, so dive in a little bit into before I dive into Last Jedi, I did want to mention one little article that I read, which is did you see that tweet by Leland Chee, keeper of the Holocron, regarding he's saying the main reason, or one of the main reasons, that they actually ditched the EU, the Legend stuff. Did you see this?
I saw a tweet. I didn't know I can't remember who it was from. So it was from Leland, who said why they did it. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So basically, they were saying, someone was mentioning why they, why they didn't, adapt any of those stories and completely start from scratch and blah blah blah. So they said,
right.
So basically, he says, publishing had decided they needed to kill somebody, and it was Chewbacca. Part of that original decision was because he can't speak and just speaks and growls. He was a challenging character to write in novels. And then he later says, if you have the opportunity to bring back Chewbacca into a live-action film, you're not gonna deprive fans of that. So basically, he was saying that Chewbacca is such an important character that he had to be in these new films, and that was why they basically scrapped all of the EU stories, and
yeah.
But he goes on there. So when you read that, it's like, okay, well, it makes sense. He died in novels, and if you're not going to adapt all of them, then there's no way you're just going to keep that. So I get it, and I think we're think about it. What is it, 3 or 4 years, and we're still talking about the canon stuff, and people are still asking about why does the EU not canon and stuff like that. So, it's old news, but for those of you that maybe, because honestly, I didn't read a lot of this stuff, the EU stuff. I had you tell me this was a New Jedi Order stuff, I think.
Yeah, it was the first book. Now,
did you read that?
Actually, was the first? Oh yeah,
yeah. You read the death of Chewbacca, basically, right?
Yep. It was crazy. I mean, he went out in a very cool way. I'm trying to figure. I don't want to misreference the book. I think I know.
It was Vector Prime.
Yeah, that's the first book. And
Yeah.
let me see real quick. I'm pretty sure that is book 1.
By R.A. Salvatore. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah, because from what I feel like I remember hearing when that book came out, that he was he got so much fan backlash that he never wrote a Star Wars novel again.
Really?
Because he killed Chewbacca.
Wow.
But hey, Chewbacca, like, it was crazy because the Yuuzhan Vong had a way to basically pull. I think it was a creature. Well, it's been years. I think there was a creature on this planet that Chewbacca was on, and it was like this Yuuzhan Vong creature, and he had the ability to pull. He had it was like a gravity well, so he was basically pulling the moon through gravity onto this planet, making the moon and the planet collide, and basically Chewbacca, sacrificed himself to get everybody safely off the planet, and then like he's just like holding his hands up, roaring at this moon that is crashing onto the planet.
Yeah.
Basically, Chewbacca gets killed by a moon. Is how I remember it. But
That's right.
crazy cool way. But it was very sad. And then there was a couple of books afterwards that the kind of the fallout of that, where Han Solo like went on a bender and just got really depressed and had a really hard time. Kind of left for a while to deal with it, but really cool. But I remember that, like, when we first heard about the movies, I think, being made. I think this was before the new canon happened or was established. But we're how in these conversations I was even saying, like, how are they going to do it? Like, they have to get rid of canon, because if this movie takes place 30 years after and Chewbacca's in it, then immediately everything is discounted.
Yeah.
And immediately there's continuity problems, because Chewbacca should not be alive. Because Vector Prime took place, I believe it's around 35 years after the Battle of Yavin. So I think, or 35 years after Return of the Jedi, I can't remember. But I think at the ABY, so I think it's after the Battle of Yavin. So,
which is right around Force Awakens.
Yeah, so it would have totally conflicted. But
yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, so they had a real quick debate about that, but it was, but then Leland got, made it clear that it wasn't the story group that decided it. Like it was actually decided, months before story group even was formed, that they were going to do this. So anyway, just wanted to bring. I thought that was an interesting thread. Okay, Last Jedi. A couple things. So I don't know. Have you seen it since the release again or not? You saw it 3 times that weekend, I think, right, or something like that.
Twice. I only saw it twice.
Okay, you saw it twice.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen it. I saw it twice. Just last weekend, my daughter really wanted to go see it. My 8-year-old daughter. So I thought it would be really neat. I honestly didn't think she was going to make it all the way through. Because it's a long movie, 2.5 hours plus previews. But and she was fading in the middle, and complaining about being tired. But she actually stuck it through once it started. Once Rey actually left Octu and landed on Snoke's ship, she was perked up because
cool.
So, okay, so the couple things that I took away from this viewing. Again, I said it I said it from when we watched it the second time, and I don't know why this happens, but every time you see it, to me, I feel like the pacing is actually better. It gets better. First time it was just weird. It just felt weird. It felt like things were out of place or not going the right way. But then it was better the second viewing, and now this one felt. Watching it again, I was more comfortable with the speed and it paced well, I felt. I still have the same issues. Not really big fan of anything of the Canto Bight stuff. Not really a huge fan of, the the space chase.
Yeah. Yep.
But I did actually this time understand a little more with what Poe was trying to do. I don't know. I felt this time I understood that he was feeling like the crew was in danger and he was doing whatever he thought he could, and because Leia's injured and he can't go to her, and so I do feel Poe's anger. I think a lot that was a big speculation too. Is why is he so mad about that? You know, he needs to follow orders, and so I do kind of understand that part now a little bit better. One thing I wanted to bring up with you is one of the things that caught my attention a little bit more was when Rey and Kylo, get finished wiping out the Praetorian guards, and he then is saying, "Join me." He does say, because we got to talk about this a little bit, because he does say, there's this whole thing about Snoke and Kylo aren't Sith, right?
Right.
But he says Sith. Like he says, when he says join me, he's like, we just got to let it all go. He says the Sith, the Jedi, all of it.
Right.
So he's referencing, to me, what still is the ultimate struggle, the battle, between Sith and Jedi. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I don't know why they wouldn't be, to be honest. Because again, it's two of them. It's following the same rhythm, of Sith. And then, I kind of thought about it a little bit more. Did we ever talk about this? Because I don't know why we didn't, and maybe we did, and I just don't remember. But in episode 1, when they're at Qui-Gon's funeral, and Yoda says, always two there are, a master and an apprentice. But earlier in the film, we get Qui-Gon telling the council, I think it was a Sith Lord. And, Kiani Mundi's like, well, that's not true. They've been gone for 1,000 years. It's like,
right.
We would have known that they'd come back. If Darth Bane survived without them knowing and started the rule of two, how do they know about the rule of two?
Yeah.
How does Yoda know about the rule of two? If they just discovered them after 1,000 years, because Yoda, when Darth Bane apparently did this, Yoda wasn't even alive, right? Yoda's only 800-900 years old. So I start thinking, like, did we ever talk about that? Well, how do they even know the rule of two?
No, we never talk about that, but I mean, that could have been an oversight. I'm sure they'll have some kind of explanation for that, but I don't know. I don't think it's ever been explained.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of, which I don't think this has happened because I think it would have been revealed. The only thing I can think of is that the wipeout or whatever, the Jedi Sith, last major battle that they had that they thought they wiped them out. The only thing I can think of is that happened actually a little beyond 1,000 years, and then Darth Bane established the rule of two, and then they knew it. They knew then that there was only two, Darth Bane and his apprentice, and maybe at around 1,000 years they thought they wiped out Bane and his apprentice. That's the only thing I can think of. And then, but Bane survives and starts and begins a secret rule of two. You know what I mean? Like, but that's the only explanation I can think of, because if they didn't know that Bane existed and started the rule of two, how does he even know? You know, always two there are.
I can't remember if the rule of two is ever mentioned in the Lost Missions episodes of the Clone Wars.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. But we know the rule of two. Yeah. We know the rule of two is canon.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, the Jedi have the rule of two, don't they?
Master, yeah, I guess.
I mean, they adopt the rule of two as well, because when Qui-Gon's like, "I will train him," they're like, "Impossible! You already have an apprentice. He can't have more than one apprentice." So
right.
It's like they have the rule of two as well. So I'm like, so maybe the Sith had that same type of, rule as well when there was many of them. I don't know. I started thinking about that. I'm like, how does he know that if they thought that they were extinct? But anyway, I do think that, Snoke's using, he talks about the darkness. He talks about they talk about the dark side. They could be just dark users, but why wouldn't they be Sith? Why? Because he wants to be everything like Vader. Right?
Well, that's where you get into exactly what is the difference between Sith and dark side user. And it's like, there's more of a religion to the Sith, just like there is a Jedi. Like any light Force user isn't immediately a Jedi until they're trained and study the philosophy of a Jedi. So I guess it's the same way of the Sith. Until you are trained and study the philosophy of the Sith, just simply use the dark side in an angry way, or use the Force in an angry way. So I don't know what resources Snoke would have to study the Sith. Just like there's probably rarely any Jedi holocrons out there, there's probably rarely any Sith holocrons out there too. Unless the Empire, the Emperor might have stockpiled some of it somewhere, but
which
I don't know.
Which is possible, yeah.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I don't know if it's said in the visual dictionary for The Last Jedi, but if Snoke actually was really trying to discover more about the Sith to become a Sith, it's just known that he isn't a Sith. So it's just it. Maybe he was trying to keep that alive in the only ways he knew how. The Sith law or whatever.
Yeah, and then that's what's confusing a little bit too, is that he, at the end of Awakens and basically into this movie, he keeps saying, bring Kylo Ren to me so I can complete his training.
Right.
And in this one, it's like, complete your training. It's like, training for what?
Yeah.
Aren't you training to be a Sith? Because you're not just training to be a dark side user, whatever, right? Because he's already a dark side user.
Maybe he thinks he's Sith. Is it like that kind of the impression that I've gotten from Snoke so far, is that he just seems like he's a fanboy. He's just like, he's a Darth Vader fanboy that wants to be like Vader, thinks he is like a Sith just because he uses the dark side of the Force. But I feel like he's arrogant and doesn't really know fully what it means to be Sith, but he thinks he is. So I don't know. So there's still some mystery.
Yeah, because
there's
a big curiosity of whether or not he was part of the Empire while it was Palpatine's.
Yeah.
Or not, or he was just all of a sudden this powerful creature that kind of took over the First Order. We don't know that.
Yeah.
But I do want to point out that I'm sure people have noticed this, because I just got in the mail my my brand new Last Jedi theatrical poster that I have on the wall now. So I'm looking at them. I got Force Awakens on there and Last Jedi. I'm looking at these posters and I'm thinking, neither of them have a picture of Snoke. So, and granted, the first one, Force Awakens, doesn't have a picture of Luke because he wasn't really in it. But Snoke was in both movies. And I don't know if that, I kind of look at that and like, well, Snoke actually is probably an insignificant character. I mean, according to the movies, he's a guy that, again, just wasn't really that involved in Force Awakens besides through hologram, telling him, giving them orders on what they should and shouldn't do. And then in this movie, he really is only in 2 scenes this movie. You know that?
Yeah.
He's in when Kylo comes to him in the beginning and then destroys his mask. And then we don't see him again until Rey walks in the door. So, and we see him briefly in a hologram with Hux in the beginning, but that's it. And that I really noticed that in this viewing, and then of course looking at these posters, I'm just like, you know what? They, it's true. Ryan didn't want, or neither of them really wanted to give anything away as far as where he came from or who he was, and truly, I don't think there's any kind of significant backstory of who he is. I think, I'm just starting to really feel like these 2 movies or this whole trilogy just really has nothing to do with him. It's all about Kylo Ren. It's all about Rey. It's all about how they're going to both try to save the galaxy, and just like Luke did against Vader. So I just thought that was really, I got a lot of that in this viewing about Snoke. And I do, I actually really like Kylo Ren's character. Like I really do.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He, I mean, he's, I don't know. It was really kind of really understanding too how deep the whole conversation with Rey about, he's going to turn. If I go to him, he's going to turn. I can turn him, but truly what happens is that he fully turns to the dark side. Which is what I believe. I don't know if you think that, but I think he's done. Like he's dark side. There's no turning back.
Okay.
He's it. He's the main baddie in episode 9.
Yeah.
And they got to kill him.
Yep.
But you still have hope?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like that there's still room to play with the relationship between Kylo and Rey. I think there's still material there that you can write and get some good scenes between the 2 of them, and trying to pull each other back and forth. Like they had such good chemistry in this movie that it's just that conflict still. I feel like that conflict should still be there, just because it's so good to see that between them 2. How they're both they both are convinced that they're themselves are right, and they're trying to convince each other, like, no, I'm right. No, I'm right. Like I want more of that.
Yeah.
So, but there's still I feel like there's still something to be said of Kylo's hesitation, although it is at the beginning of The Last Jedi.
Yeah, no.
At the beginning of his arc.
I think he's still conflicted then.
Yeah. So, I like to believe that if he were presented with that opportunity again, let's say the beginning of 9, I feel like I like to believe that he would still have problems.
Oh, really? See, I don't. I think and then I think when it fully happened was when he decided to basically strike down Luke, even though he didn't. But to me, that fully turned him when he was committed to killing him and thought that he did. It's like I think he's definitely turned. And then and then the great shot of Rey, cutting off that connection by closing the Falcon Door. I think that I don't think you're going to see that connection in 9. I think that was Ryan's thing. I don't think it's going to be JJ's thing. So one thing I did want to also tack on real fast because it was really neat today. Ryan Johnson put out a series of tweets, pictures, and he took a picture of this corner. I guess maybe it's his office. Corner of his office with a bookshelf that had a bunch of books on it, and then he took a closer picture, and you can see that it was the combo book of the Sith and book and the Jedi Path.
Holy cow, that's funny.
And then he took a picture of the Jedi Path, him pulling out the book, which I don't think these are canon.
No, they're not.
Right, so they came out before, but you can pull material from it. So then he opens a page and takes a picture, and it says "Advanced Force Techniques." And then the next picture is a brief description of what's called doppelganger, or similifurturis, which is it permits a Jedi to create a short-lived duplicate of himself or herself, or an external object that is visually indistinguishable from the real item. Those who have perfected this ability can create phantoms of any person of their choosing or trick an enemy into seeing more objects, such as droids, than are actually present. So that's apparently the ability that Luke is doing. When he's creating a doppelganger of himself, which
nice.
But that came from Path of the Jedi, or the Jedi Path book that came out several years ago before the whole Disney thing and all that. So that's why I think it's not canon. But yeah,
no, because I think those books, because those books have like annotations from Jedis and Sith. And I think like characters like Darth Revan is referenced, right. I think, through those books. So now they're not canon.
That's right.
But they're still very cool books.
And also, you can pull material from it, obviously, and that's what he pulled from it. So pretty neat there. So in summary, I just think the Last Jedi again was good, but not great. I definitely like a lot of moments in there. The Leia Luke scene still tears me up. I mean, I want more of that. That was such a great scene. But in the R2 Luke scene, so good, so good. But again, Canto Bight, the whole middle part of the plot, which was the space chase, it just wasn't. And I feel like that's what I read out of my daughter. She was so into it the first part of the movie. Laughed at the Hux Poe exchange. So, and then the Luke and Rey situation, she liked that, and all of a sudden, when it was Canto Bight, when it was just Poe creating opposition against Holdo, she was fading. I can tell she was bored by it. But then all of a sudden, like I said, Rey shows up on the ship, and the Pantoran Guard situation, and then on Crate, she was hooked again. She was in it. So through the eyes of an 8-year-old, it kind of added, a little credibility to my belief about how the movie is. You know what I mean? So
cool, yeah, good.
And it's funny.
That's the thing. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I was just gonna say that's what I like. I'm although I have my problems with it, you have your problems with it. I love when people out there are saying they love The Last Jedi, and some people say it's their favorite Star Wars movie or their top 3 favorite Star Wars movies. I love that. I'm glad. I'm happy for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's nothing, I tweeted out a picture of me and Sam there. I'm like, but in the end, this is what it's all about, being able to share with other generations the thrill of seeing your first Star Wars film in a movie or on the big screen, in a movie theater. I mean, we all remember that time, and she will always remember that time that she went and saw The Last Jedi in. I mean, you ask her, and you ask her when you see her again. It's like, how'd you like it? She's like, her grandfather asked her today when we were at dinner, and she said, "I loved it. It was the best movie I've ever seen." It's like
that's cool.
But it was funny that on our way home, as soon as we got in the car and started driving home, I said, "Okay, so Sam, what'd you think?" She's like, "I loved it. I loved it." I said, "Well," she says, "I only didn't like one thing." I'm like, "Oh, okay. What?" She said, "I didn't like that Luke Skywalker died." So, all right. Actually, she phrased it like this: "I didn't like how Kylo Ren killed Luke Skywalker."
Right. Yeah.
So I had to say,
that's interesting.
So I had to stop and say, "Well, Sam, did you realize that he wasn't actually there?" And she was like, "What?" It's like so he kind of made a projection of himself, and he, did it from the island, and it was so powerful that it actually killed him. And then she was like, "Well, I was really upset that Luke Skywalker died."
Yeah.
So shouldn't have killed Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. It's a hard pill to swallow.
It is. But okay. What else? Anything else?
It's kind of quiet right now.
Yeah.
Just waiting on Han Solo.
Waiting for Solo. I'm catching up on some comics. The Darth Vader series, which number 10 I think came out last week. I didn't talk about it last week. Oh man, that series is unbelievable. Charles Soule is writing a gem right now. The whole Jocasta Nu storyline was phenomenal. It actually adds a lot to the Jedi mythology and what she's trying to do and preserve and all that stuff. So good. I encourage everybody to go for that. I'm still in the middle of the Canto Bight novel. I'm trying to get through it, to be honest. It's not significantly important. I'm enjoying it right now. I'm enjoying it just because I'm on the third story where Mark Thompson is reading it, so I enjoy his version of things. So I'm liking that part. But other than that, it's and I think Pablo even mentions it on the Star Wars show. He's like, it's cool stories. It's not important necessarily to the overall. There's nothing connected in there really, So, in fact, I'm a little confused. The third story, this person's approaching like the opening of the casino, the outside of it, and notices like some Alderanian like architecture, and they mentioned that they've been hearing that there's trouble with Alderaan. So
yeah.
It makes me wonder when that takes place, because I'm like, wow, wait, does this mean it's right after it gets destroyed? Or because if this is around The Last Jedi, the thing's been destroyed for 34 years. So little confused on the timing of that, because the other stories I think took place right before The Last Jedi. So I was thinking they all would, but maybe this one doesn't. I don't know.
Interesting.
Or maybe the person's just clueless and doesn't know what's happening in the galaxy. So I don't know. I figured there might be some chronological thing online that tells me. But anyway, that'll wrap it up for us. Thanks for listening, everybody, and being here with us. Like I said, we are going to talk more deeply about Solo as soon as we get some stuff, as soon as everybody sees some stuff. But be ready for Rebels again, February 19th. And we'll just be back here next week to give you any reports that we can. Casey's over there at Kryptonian1138 on Twitter. I am DCottingham21. Give us a follow. Go to the show main page at InsideTheForce.com for all your social media connections, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google+. Then we're on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, Google Play. All the show is right there on the website. And listen there. Big shout out to people that are we're actually getting a lot more comments now from our trailers that we've been putting out, for
cool.
People giving us good comments and saying how awesome it is. So I really appreciate that. We're talking still and trying to get our best footing down for putting more content on there. So go to the YouTube channel and subscribe, and we'll get some more content up there. So appreciate it. Hope everybody has a good weekend. He's Casey Cooley.
Sorry, one second. Okay. I had to go tab over here. Okay. Strike me down in anger, and I'll always be with you, just like your father. Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. Yeah. See you around, kid.
We'll see it. We'll see him again, people. Come on.
See you around, kid.
JJ cannot not use Luke Skywalker in Episode 9.
True. Yeah. True.
I feel like he just I have to actually direct Luke Skywalker in a movie.
I know, right?
I can't. Jeez, Ryan, you gave me a movie where Luke Skywalker doesn't exist.
I mean, that was the whole hook to get him back. That was the whole hook to get him to do it. Who is Luke Skywalker?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter now. He's dead. I'll have to bring him back. Don't worry.
Yeah, no kidding. Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good week. We will be back next week. For Casey.
Goodbye, everybody.
I'm Dave Cottingham. May the Force be with you.
Thank you for listening to Inside the Force, a Star Wars podcast hosted by David Cottingham and Casey Cooley. For more shows, additional content, articles, and the latest Star Wars news, please visit InsideTheForce.com. Inside the Force. For the Force, then all of us.